Let's do the town manager report,
You got it.
and then we'll go into new business. Right?
Works for me.
Yes.
All right, this first one is a little wordy, so bear with me. Earlier today, I met with Colonial Power, which is the third-party consultant that manages our energy aggregation program. For those who aren't familiar, energy aggregation is a program that we introduced here in Tyngsborough in 2017 that allows us to use our combined purchasing power to procure lower supply rates on electricity offered than what's offered by National Grid. So essentially, your energy is still delivered by National Grid, you're billed by National Grid, you pay National Grid, but you're getting the electricity from the third-party supplier that we've procured. And so when you look at your National Grid bill, you see a supply services category that shows currently it's First Point Power if you're on our program, but you still get billed for National Grid's delivery. If you aren't on the energy aggregation, which you'll remember, or maybe you won't remember, but we automatically enrolled everyone in 2017. You can opt out at any time, there's no additional cost. And over the course of the last 9 years, we've several times re-enrolled people who were either new or had opted out when the prices were favorable. Our current contract for that expires on November 1st. And in order to comply with National Grid's required reporting time, we need to execute a new agreement by September 1st. Failure to do so means that we're either going to be stuck with National Grid's rate or with the current provider. Now, nothing wrong with our current provider. They were the lowest the last time we went out to bid, but that means that you don't have any competition options. You're only able to solicit prices from your current provider. They know this, and therefore they're not incentivized to give you a good rate. The challenge that we're facing right now, and I reported on this, I think probably last in June, may have been early June, is that there is a lot of uncertainty, as we all know, in the Middle East. And over the weekend, the uncertainty grew even greater. And there really doesn't appear to be a resolution in sight. So we only have a few more weeks to execute pricing, and more likely than not, the pricing will continue to slowly climb over the next 3 weeks. There is a chance that it comes down maybe slightly, but there's a greater chance that the prices will go up. When we pulled executable pricing today, we were getting a lowest price of 0.162 per kilowatt hour. To put that into perspective, our current agreement is 0.129 per kilowatt hour. However, National Grid's current rate is 0.173. So I say that to say that any rate that we execute now is going to certainly be higher than our current rate, but it will be lower than National Grid's current rate. To make this even more complex, because I don't like to give you easy things, National Grid's current rate, that 0.17, which is higher than the rates we pulled today, is only valid through February 1st, 2027. On February 21st, 2027, they're going to reissue pricing, likely in that same range, maybe slightly lower. But there remains a very, very, very remote possibility that National Grid, maybe the governor is successful in reining in utility prices, comes in at a rate that is slightly lower than the rate that we pulled today. That would be the first time that our energy aggregation rate is lower than National Grid's, and it's very unlikely, but I want to be transparent about what the possibilities are. The good news is if that happens, as I said, residents can opt out of our aggregation at any time. And so certainly if February 1st comes around and National Grid has announced some rate that is magically lower than ours, we would communicate through a townwide mailer, letting people know that that's the case and how they can opt out. It's very simple. You call Colonial Power. It happens on your next bill cycle. But it's not likely, but I do want to be transparent. So all of that is to say that we have to make a decision, and by we, I mean I, in the next 3 weeks, that will certainly see higher rates than what we previously saw. But I intend, unless there's a wild objection from the board, although you won't meet again before I have to pull the trigger, I intend to execute that lower rate, or the current rate that we pulled today, which is lower again than National Grid's rate. I would only lock us into a 12-month term. That's the lowest term that you can do. There's a 12-month term, a 24-month, and a 36-month. The 12-month term is a tad bit higher than the 24-month term, which is a tad bit higher than the 36. So the lowest amount is the 36, but I don't think you'd find anyone that recommends you lock into a 3-year given the uncertainty. So as soon as we get we'll re-pull the pricing tomorrow. I'll send it to the select board. This won't take effect until November 1st, as is required by state law and as we do every time. Once we execute a new agreement with whoever the winning supplier is, every resident that is on our aggregation will receive a letter with the new rates, with information on how to opt out if they want. But again, they're still going to be lower than National Grid. And you may remember in every one of your monthly correspondence or quarterly correspondence, we include the quarterly savings report from Colonial Power. And Tyngsborough residents since 2017 have saved millions of dollars by being on this. I think that the higher rate than what we're seeing right now is just a reflection of the greater market. So there's no action required, but it's a relatively complicated one. So before I move on, does anybody on the board want to ask questions about that? Because I know I just threw a lot out there. No? Okay.
I have a couple of quick questions.
Yes, please.
One, you're not expecting us to cure the Middle East issue, are we?
I was hoping one of you would have a suggestion, but if you don't, I would understand.
So there's an easy opt-out, opt-in.
We changed the program 2 contracts ago. We paid a little bit more, you may remember,
Yep.
so that anyone can opt in at any time.
Got it. So I just want to make sure that
Yep.
people are, because originally
Which is a great.
you couldn't opt back in. It was kind of
Correct.
a tough situation. So now, if the price is higher, you can opt out, and you'll have an opportunity to opt back in if we were to go through and negotiate a better deal.
100%.
Just want to make sure that was clear.
Good point.
Thank you.
Excellent. We're expecting to publish a new page on tyngsborough.gov late this week or early next week regarding the battery storage facility on Middlesex Road. The draft page is currently being reviewed for content by our staff to make sure that we didn't miss anything before it goes live. On that page, folks will be able to find answers to the many questions that have come up since the meeting on the 27th with Rhineland. They'll find a cut video just of that portion of the select board meeting where Rhineland presents and you all get to ask questions. We'll include the presentation materials as well as resources from the Commonwealth. The Department of Energy resources published a pretty extensive page on the state's website that has all kinds of information on fire safety, fire instances, and so we'll link that. It's a little more, a lot of the content is a little more technical than what we're putting out, so we'll put the kind of plain language that I can understand, but there'll be a link to the state's page. Once it's live, we'll post it widely on our social media and through our other channels, as well as try to get it in the next edition of The Bridge so that there's a hard copy notice of it as well. Last week, the town's paving contractor finished the final paving of a new road at Memorial Cemetery on Fletcher Drive. The new road was cleared, graded, and set by our DPW staff, and we brought in a paving contractor just to do that final paving. This extension will allow us to expand the area of the cemetery that we're selling plots in as we start to sell out in the areas that have already been cleared. Serby has been hard at work getting a head start on one of the select board goals, which is to have a clear inventory of all municipally owned buildings and land. The buildings is incredibly easy. The land that we use as parks is incredibly easy, but one of the things that surprised, I think, Serby and I think will surprise you, is the countless number of very tiny parcels that the town owns through tax title process where a developer created a subdivision, they had this tiny piece of land they couldn't do anything with, they closed the LLC that built it, and then several years later we took it. So it took Serby, I think, several days to catalog it. When we update you on your goals next, we'll share an update on it, but that will include all of the buildings, things that you'll be familiar with, all of the parks that you're aware of, Ironwood, Riverfront Park, Wickesee, but it will also include, I think you'll find, a large number of these really small pieces of land. We're trying to categorize it so that when you look at it, you can see what is usable. A lot of it is situated annoyingly behind 2 properties, so there's no access to it, so it's not like we could really ever do anything from it. But one thing that may come, for some of these parcels, it may spur a conversation by the board and then ultimately town meeting. For some of those really small ones that abut just 2 properties, it may be cleaner for us to look to dispose them evenly to each abutter just to get them off of your, I mean, they're not costing us anything, but they're just sitting kind of in no man's land. So thank you, Serby, for going through that. As the board knows, Wonder will celebrate its grand opening this week on Thursday at 10:30 a.m. at their new location at 440 Middlesex Road. We are excited to have them join our community and see yet another wonderful addition to the Edge District. We'll open bids this week on the 2026 Roads Phase 2 project, which will see a full-depth reclamation in the Jocko and Tower Road neighborhoods. Bids are due at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, at which time they'll be reopened. We also, just today, updated the DPW's page on the website with the fiscal year 26 to fiscal year 31 capital plan. So every year we try to update that. So if you're curious if your road makes it on the list, you can visit tyngsborough.gov and navigate to the DPW page. I'll be meeting this week with our DPW, Police Department, MassDOT, and the town's traffic consultant to review the findings and a conceptual drawing of the traffic study that took place on Middlesex Road as a part of our exploration to develop a road diet between 440 Middlesex and Locust Ave. I expect to have a more substantial update for the board at its next meeting. Last week, we published a resource guide for residents on tyngsborough.ma.gov that deals with PFAS. As you know, PFAS are forever chemicals that can be in drinking water. While much of the town is served by one of 3 public water supply districts, many residents are still served by private wells. This guide helps point residents in the right direction to find resources from the state that can help them test, monitor, and remediate issues that they find in their wells. Our 3rd annual Civic Leadership Academy kicks off next week. We're excited to have, I'm told now by Roni, 16 participants this year. That is our largest enrollment yet. None of the applicants have ever served on our board or committee, so this is really the people we were trying to target, folks that have been outside of local government and are trying to find a way in. I think the prior select board, if not very early on in this iteration, talked about potentially making kind of shorter versions of the Civic Leadership Academy available in an on-demand format, so people who may not have the time to dedicate, I think it's 8 Wednesdays, to this can watch a 5-minute presentation on how the fire department operates and how the DPW operates. So our department heads are thrilled to know that the beginning part of their courses will be filmed, and at the conclusion of the Civic Leadership Academy, we'll create an on-demand library for each department. We don't want to give away the whole class without having people participate, so some of the hands-on exercises won't be included. For the departments that do field trips, that won't be included, but it will be enough to give people a high-level understanding, which I think, we had a conversation about folks not understanding how the fire department works. I'm sure there are others in that same category. I do want to just quickly highlight the current vacancies that we're looking to fill in the various boards and committees here in town. If any of the positions interest you, you can contact our office by emailing administration@tyngsborough.ma.gov or by calling 978-649-2300 extension 100. We have vacancies on the Commission on Disability, the Cultural Council, the Historic Commission, the Middlesex and Westford Road Strategic Visioning Committee, Recreation and Parks, Zoning Board of Appeals, and the Master Plan Implementation Committee. Additionally, just before this meeting, I was notified that longtime library trustee Paula Flaherty had resigned from her position on the board. Paula has been a steady source of leadership and support for the library for many years, and we thank her for her service. With that, our office will advertise the vacancy this week and will convene a joint meeting of the Board of Library Trustees and the Select Board, similar to what you had tonight with the school committee, in September to fill the vacancy. Of note, this will bring your former colleague, Mr. Schneider, back to a Monday night meeting as he currently serves on the Board of Library Trustees, so we'll be sure to make it difficult for him. Last week, I was excited to announce the appointment of Alyssa Lee as the next Director of Elder Services for the town of Tyngsborough. Ms. Lee comes to us from the town of Groveland, where she currently serves as their Director of Elder Services. Her first day will be October 1st, but we'll be arranging meet and greets with her at the Center for Active Living during the month of September. In the meantime, Sean has had the pleasure of providing interim oversight at the center with help from our existing staff who have been tremendous. So if you want to see Sean's smiling face, I would encourage you to stop by the center. But things are going very well over there. We are in the final stages of our search for a new finance assistant in our finance department. We conducted 4 interviews last week with the 5th scheduled for tomorrow. We're really excited about the candidates that we have. Most of the ones we've offered interviews are currently working in this or a very similar position in another municipality. And of course, this position holds a special place in my heart because it is the first job that I held in Tyngsborough. So we've held the bar very high. The Department of Public Works submitted a $1 million grant application to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to fund the replacement of a culvert on Dunstable Road at Redgate. If awarded, this would allow us to address one of our biggest culvert priorities. You will remember that our DPW has been very successful in obtaining grants toward culvert replacement, largely on the design side. So we have several culverts, this being one, that are fully designed, and we're just looking for construction funding from the state to address. And then a few updates on upcoming events. Join us on Monday, August 17th at 6 p.m. at the First Parish Meeting House for a special presentation by State Rep. Colin Gary and State Senator Vanna Howard to commemorate the 250th anniversary of America, with the presentation of a commemorative copy of the Declaration of Independence. The event is free and open to the public. The Recreation Committee will host the next installment of the Summer Concert Series on Thursday at Ironwood Park. This week's performance is a return from last year, Boot Scam. Bring your chair and a snack and meet us at the park. And the Health Department, in collaboration with the Tyngsborough Department of Public Works, the Police Department and Fire Department will host the annual Health and Safety Fair on Saturday, September 19th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Tyngsborough Elementary School.
This week, we've awarded a contract to Neely Construction Corporation for the police station window replacement project. The police station will see all exterior windows replaced. This project is being funded through an appropriation from the Capital Asset Committee from town meeting for fiscal year 26, and that much needed work should be complete by the end of this calendar year. Speaking of capital asset, the Capital Asset Management Committee met last Thursday to resume its work on FY27 capital planning ahead of a potential capital warrant for Fall Town Meeting in October. While we don't yet have a clear picture of funds that will be available for capital projects for FY27, the committee is back reviewing requests for this year after no projects were funded back in May. I expect the committee will meet several more times this summer for FY27 before moving on to its traditional schedule, looking at FY28 evaluations later on this fall. Thank you.
Thank you. Quite a bit there. I'm going to open it up to the board. Mr. Marino.
Thank you. So I'm going to try and hit all these points, but I'm not going to be able to. So battery storage, I saw that video go up today, so I'm happy to see that that's getting out there. Serby, thank you for the work that you're doing with the parcels. You're going to laugh at me, but when I first brought up that goal, I actually did it with the intention of looking at all those little parcels that we own because I knew there were a lot of them. So I'm very interested to see the final result of that. You brought up that you added, I know it's not in your report, but you added the road maintenance plan. The only thing I'll note is it looks like Scribner Road was listed on there in FY27 and 28.
It's a really long road. I'll double check.
Yeah, that was the one thing I noticed, but other than that, it looks great. Outside of that, very excited for the Declaration of Independence event, and this list just seems to get longer and longer as I read through it, so I'll stop talking now and let somebody else take on the rest of it. But thank you, Colin, as always. Lots of great stuff going on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Calabogas.
Thank you, Mr. Aldrich. Yes, lots of good stuff going on. I echo those small parcels of land that we're finding out where they are. I think it's a great idea to see if we can divvy them up to the neighbors, hopefully no additional cost on that tax bill. So just it helps them and it gets it off our books. I think it's a great idea. One overarching thought is, throughout this report, you mentioned about, we put a video today about the battery meeting that we had and what they want to do. We had a couple of other videos that go online that we talked about. And I noticed that half of them I didn't even know, maybe more than half, I didn't know they were up there. And it's just talking out loud, right? One of our things is how do we get points out there? We're posting all these things in the same place, but I don't have an answer. I don't know how many people look at them. I mean, I've become aware of them because I sit on this board and I hear it every week. And these are good things, and we put them in this one common area with these updates on a regular cadence. But,
Green Arches.
Yes, I read Green Arches.
Thank you.
And I thought you were supposed to go through the chair before you said something. I read Green Arches.
Thank you for your comments.
I read Green Arches, and what Ronnie and his team have done where they give us those little short videos are great. So I think I'm pointing out a well-known challenge that we have without a solution. There's lots of data going out there, and as you mentioned earlier with the fire station, it's out there, and it's in the same location. I'm just going to keep thinking, how do we propagate that into a wider audience? With that, I'm done.
Yeah, what I was implying is that perhaps a section of your Green Arches should be what's new, what's been posted up there. Like maybe you say on YouTube or whatever, there's these 3 videos, or maybe every other week, kind of a little bit of a mini digest of things that you sit there and say, hey, looking for more? Here's your
Good
stuff.
idea. Good idea.
That's where I was going.
Good
I was sitting
idea.
there saying,
That's a good idea.
thank you.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Could we tell how many people are receiving Green Arches?
Yes.
How many?
I can tell you how many people have subscribed.
Subscribe. Thank you.
A large number, 40. But what I can't, and I can tell you how many click it from Facebook.
Yes.
The challenge with using the numbers on the website is that it's going to double include us anytime, like some people sign up for like digest. So anytime something new referencing Tyngsborough is pulled, Civic Plus counts that as a view, even if that person didn't actually open it.
Okay.
But I can give you a rough idea that it's trillions of people.
Right,
Is
so
largely what
somewhere
I've been told.
somewhere between 40 and trillions,
Correct.
right.
I'll
So-
try to narrow it down by
So,
our next
thank
meeting.
you. So the green arches, it's great, you know, we're putting these things out there, but again, we're getting low, yeah, all right, thank you.
Yes, also, you might want to consider for your, each of our meetings, you post on Facebook and on X and maybe some others, your town manager's report, you know, for more info here, there might be some other things, so just to consider. Selectperson Coughlin.
Yes, I'm anxious to hear about the safety study. That will be interesting. And I just had one question. The Middlesex and Westford Road Strategic Visioning Committee, how many people are you looking for? I know they came up like a few meetings ago, and I just don't
It
remember.
was 2 residents, 2 business reps.
Okay.
And obviously, we're still actually waiting on a representative from zoning and planning as well, too, to my understanding.
But are you close to starting this?
Colin, I'll let you take that one.
As of today, I have 2 resident-at-large applications, which I'll ask the board to consider on August 31st. Once you have that, by then, the planning board will have appointed someone, so I think that you'd have a quorum to certainly begin meeting, and I think zoning board is meeting this week, unless that meeting was canceled. So you may not have a zoning, if their meeting this week was canceled, because they only meet if there's a hearing before them. But yeah, I think once the select board appoints those 2, or maybe we'll get more before then, you'll have options. But following the 31st, I think that the committee will be good to start meeting.
Okay, great.
And if I may,
Please.
the business reps, I think once the committee starts meeting with the representatives we have, we could even start doing some targeted outreach to certain businesses who we think would be a good fit, so
Okay,
we're getting there.
thanks. That's all I had.
Okay, I'm a little disappointed that the windows are no longer going to fall out at the police station. I mean, that's
It takes away from the charm.
It does,
really,
It's
yeah.
one less thing the chief can complain about, so.
yeah. I am thrilled about the civic leadership having 16 participants. I like where the program, how it's evolved, and I think having that little mini library of things, you know, kind of Tyngsborough Civics 101, you know, a little mini library would be fantastic. And I can share my charger too if you need it. Other than that, I mean, as always, I think that this is comprehensive. There's a lot of things, and I always point residents, you know, they'll sit there and come up with questions, and I'm like, town manager's report, it's all in there. You know, maybe something to look at is whether there's an easy mechanism for people to search to find those nuggets, like between some of the other items that are there. I know our website is a little, we need some search engine optimization, but are there other ways, and you might want to consider, hate to bring this up, but AI oftentimes will have ways, if you have a library of really good information, if you put a bot in front of that or an agent in front of that where people can go through and ask some questions, you know, something to consider. Pie in the sky, not on your list, but would help with communications. All right, thank you.